Hello one and all, welcome to my new video. This is just going to be me drawing one of my newest illustrations. I'm currently testing out Clip Studio Paint. I'm not sponsored, but they do have a free trial and I wanted to see how it worked, to see if it could replace my current drawing software. And so far with my testing it's been pretty good, I'll be honest. I'm currently using one of my rough sketches, as you can see here, as a base on how I can add a ton of detail and really set the mood of what I want for this illustration. Personally, whenever I draw something, I always like to give it a type of a theme or give it a type of feeling where it'll be like having a magical presence or a horror scenario type of deal. And for this one, I'm thinking of going for a survivalist type of feel, but with a more magical appearance, such as like trudging through a magic swamp, unprepared and unknowing of what will happen. If you've seen some of my past videos before, you'll probably see the line art I'm currently doing is of one of my characters I have used in my past videos. I will link those videos in the description below if you'd like to see how I ended up designing her overall appearance. I had a really tough time coming up with sleeves for her dress, as when you have characters, they all have different outfits every now and then, or most of them do. I like giving my characters different outfits, but keeping them kind of stylized in a way where, yeah, that seems like something my character would wear type of feel. So with this, I gave her some different sleeves, which I found a little tricky, but it really makes me feel like the fact that she was definitely not prepared to go hunting through a swamp today, which is kind of comical in an unprepared how will this adventure turn way. When it comes to drawing digitally from a sketch, this is a little tip that I like to do, what you can see here, is make a different layer and then try to redraw the part of your sketch but in a different color with a little more detail, and that way it's easier to get the overall details and positioning, especially when it comes to hands and limbs. When working from sketches, I decided to be nice and made it seem as though she's closer to the shore than she would currently be. Another tip I found is really good is that when you've done your line art but you're working on the environment, it's best just to add another layer underneath your character line art and just cover it in white. That way it's easy to stand out and you can picture what your character would look like within the environment, and then that gives you a way you can lay out the rest of the environment better. The only reason I added in the tree branches before the character was because I knew they would be what the character would be interacting with the most, because she's trudging through the water they are currently residing in. What I really like about this software is that it comes with this cute little stamp. It comes with a few cute little stamps, which actually save time. If you want to do your own trees, that's fine, but I thought because this is just for fun, I'd try out these new little stamps, and they have like trees, and it's really cool, especially if you can get them lined up in a specific way. And you can also like add your own little detail to them afterwards. Like erasing a few of the trunks and redoing a few of the roots, because you know it might not always fit with where you're trying to go. Overall, I found this a really nice feature in Clip Studio Paint that Clip Studio Paint has. Here I picked the simple colors Here I picked the simple colours from my character. Her character design is more of the warm red and yellow variety, so she'll definitely stand out quite a bit in the murky green and blue swamp that I'm trying to create. However, because this is a magical swamp, I really want to add some magical aspects to it, like maybe the water or the plants can be glowing in some sort of way that I think will really add to it and give a good light source. I found that when picking an overcolor to create, shadows and add more dramaticness when you add the lighting in, it's always good to lay out where you want the light coming from on a separate layer with like a red pen. Just give yourself some notes on a free layer, especially if you're kind of working from a sketch but you don't have any overall idea what to do with said sketch. That's what I like to do, and I find it very helpful. I felt as though my character was looking very flat, and considering I wanted the environment to look very much alive, I wanted to just do something. Her clothes are pretty simple, so I decided because her hair is the thing that pops out the most, I'd give it a bit more variation in colour, making it look smooth and shiny like silky hair. I mean, who doesn't love silky hair? It's so smooth and pretty. I did try thinking of how I can use some of these new brushes that came with this program to give her like a little belt or pattern, but then I found that it just didn't seem right. I did like this little gold charm thing. I thought it was very cute, and I just wanted to put it there. Like maybe if I ever made a story about my character, she could have just lost the bracelet in the swamp and maybe it was magical or something. What I did find out is there's just a lot of weird preset brushes in this program with all cute little designs and stuff that are quite fun to mess around with. I'm not sure if I'd ever use them for any of my designs or not. It really depends. So yeah, now my character is all finished up. I want to keep all of her layers separate from the background for now, just so I don't go over anything. Because that is the absolute worst thing you can do, where you are constantly fighting with your layers because you don't want to go all the way back like 50 brush strokes ago just to fix this one thing. So always be aware of what layer you're drawing on. The biggest tip, probably the most obvious too, but always good to be told twice. So here I am adding some more shading. I did find this really cute brush. Seems like a very smoky kind of leaf-like brush, and I found that's really good, especially when coming to the trees and adding the shading that they would cause. Considering the light is coming from slightly above, mainly where the swamp part is, but there are like broken trees and my character, so the water won't be incredibly bright because it is swamp water. So I had to try and think of a way I can combine everything nicely together. I find that I was having a conversation with this girl on the train the other day, and she was watching me draw on my little tablet while our train was delayed, which was incredibly annoying. But when a train's not delayed lately, she was asking me all sorts of questions about drawing and getting all the proportions and stuff right, and I thought that might actually be a good idea for videos. I know there are quite a few videos like that already, however, of giving tips for people and tricks for artwork and stuff to remember when drawing, but I found that every artist is different. It's like when I was a beginner artist and I would ask like my tutors, or when I would meet artists I admired at conventions for advice or just chatting to people, they would all give me different advice, but the construct behind where that advice came from was, it was similar in a sense. And personally, I think that's one of the best things about art is that you can get, well, it depends how you look at it, and I might be wording this wrong, so please bear with me, but you can get the same advice, but for different perspectives, And that can open your eyes up to the advice given to you in different ways. I know that might sound weird, but that's the best way I can explain it. So when I said before about adding a darker layer to like help with all the shading, I personally find it's easier to do that so that I can just erase the areas where light would be. I don't think, well, I haven't met anyone else that personally does this, but I find it's a lot better for me personally to do it this way. Might be because I'm dyslexic and I see things differently. Who knows? Everyone sees things differently when you think about it. We all perceive any and everything differently. But that's kind of what's so great about us all. We can see so much differently, and yet we can work together to, you know, compromise or open each other's eyes to difference. And it can be a real positive thing, which is what I really admire in some people, unlike some other people who, you know, just try to get very negative when it comes to stuff like that. I'm personally not the biggest fan of negativity. I'm actually very sensitive to it. So like being around people when they're in like a very angry mood, or you can sense that, you know, the waves they give off are just like aggression or like carnivorous like anger. That's a weird way of phrasing it, but I try to avoid people when they're like that, unless there is a specific way I know I think I can help in a sense. But yeah, most of the time it just makes me feel very I wouldn't say touchy, I wouldn't say angry, I would say annoyed in a sense. And personally I think that's just because it's their attitude rubbing off on me, which is not always a nice feeling. And I find drinking tea helps a lot, and putting on some nice incense and music and just trying to have a good quiet time, maybe a little bit of meditation, but I find it very hard to get into meditating just because I have to be doing something constantly. My brain is always active in a sense. That's why I find it quite hard to sleep. So most of my days I'm just working at night because my body and mind, mainly my mind, refuses to let me sleep. But I do get a lot of work done, and inspiration comes in many different packages, so it's not all bad. I personally find that when it comes to anything, trying to find a positive light in it or a compromise is the best way to try and make yourself feel better and not get into a slump if something's bugging you. It's incredibly hard to do that sometimes, and other times you just want to go, oh, I don't care about this anymore, end it all, blah blah blah, I just want to go to sleep. So yeah, it can be a real pain, but just I find making checklists helps as well. So like the pros and cons list of, was something really as bad as I was thinking, or am I just angry, tired, and hungry? Hungry, hungerager, graggy, sleepy, hungry. Trying to figure out, would it be hangry because you're angry and hungry, or would it be like sleepy and hungry, or would it be like angry and sleepy? I don't know. I've just realised this has suddenly turned into me, for some reason, talking about how to put up with feelings you don't like and how to try and calm down and make yourself feel better. I'm not sure why it's my talking suddenly turned into that, especially when I made this video to talk about drawing instead. Oh well. As you can see, and that would be this. Here is the final outcome of my illustration. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to show the whole process. My recorder that I used decided to break down, and I didn't realize. so I ended up losing quite a bit of video footage, but I hope you enjoyed. I found a lot of new brushes and techniques while doing this, and it was a lot of fun. If you have any drawings, I'd really like to see them. You can send me links to your work through my social media on Twitter and Instagram, and in return you can see my artwork as well. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, ArtStation. There's a lot of social medias I'm on these days, and I didn't realise how many there were until, yeah.